You know what's strange? There's an entire group of people who remember both rotary phones and the first iPhone launch. They grew up rewinding cassette tapes and later learned how to scroll endlessly on social media. And somehow, nobody really knows where to place them. Not Gen X, not millennials, not fully anything in between. Psychologists started calling them Zenials, a micro-generation that exists in a strange gap of history. And if you belong to it, you probably already feel something hard to explain. That quiet sense of always being slightly out of place. Not wrong, just between worlds. Psychological observation. If you were born roughly between the late 1970s and mid-1980s, your childhood looked nothing like today's world. There were no smartphones, no constant notifications, no instant answers in your pocket. If you wanted information, you had to wait. You memorized phone numbers, you wrote things down on paper. You watched TV shows at a specific time, or you missed them completely. And once they were gone, they were gone. There was no replay culture, no backup version of life. And boredom? That wasn't something you escaped. It was something you sat inside, quietly. Why this matters? Then something unusual happened. Right at the moment you were stepping into adulthood, the entire world changed. Fast, almost overnight. Phones became portable computers, and the internet became normal. Social media started connecting everyone, and suddenly, identity itself moved online. But here's what makes Zenials unique. You didn't grow up in one system. You grew up in two, and you crossed the bridge between them during the most important psychological stage of life, when your brain was still forming how to think about identity, connection, and reality. That timing matters more than people realize, because it means you didn't just learn technology, you adapted your identity to it. Brain development insight. Simple. In your late teens and early 20s, your brain is still building the systems that control decision-making, habits, and emotional regulation. Think of it like this. It's the part of you that learns how to navigate life. And for Zenials, that system was still under construction when everything changed. So instead of learning one stable world, you learned how to switch between worlds. Analog life first, digital life second. That creates something rare. Mental flexibility. The ability to adjust without feeling completely lost. Emotional reality. You probably remember something younger generations don't fully understand. Being unreachable. Not for minutes, not for hours, but for entire days. If someone wanted to reach you, they couldn't. And somehow, that was normal. No one panicked. No one tracked you. No one demanded constant updates. You simply existed without being constantly observed. And that shaped your mind in a quiet way. It taught patience, it taught presence, and it taught independence in a way that doesn't exist the same way anymore. The digital shift. Then came the transition. Friendster, MySpace, Facebook, messaging apps, smartphones. Suddenly, communication exploded. What used to be simple became constant. Instead of 3 ways to contact someone, there were now dozens. And you adapted. You didn't grow up afraid of technology, but you also didn't grow up dependent on it. You learned it as an adult, which means you understand both what it replaced and what it created. The privacy difference. And this is where something subtle appears. Zenials have a different relationship with privacy. Because your embarrassing moments didn't live forever online. They disappeared. A bad haircut stayed in memory, not on social media. A mistake stayed in stories, not in search history. This creates something psychologically important. Your past feels flexible, not permanently documented, not frozen. Zenials sit between those two realities. Many Zenials entered adulthood around the 2008 financial crisis. Right when careers were supposed to stabilize, the system became unstable. And this is where it gets interesting. Zenials carry contradictions that don't feel like contradictions. You are independent, but socially aware. You are skeptical, but adaptable. You are analog in memory, but digital in behavior. You are nostalgic, but not stuck in the past. It's not confusion, it's dual perspective. You don't just see one version of reality. You see both, before and after. And that changes how you think. Identity experience. Because of that, many Zenials feel something subtle. Not fully Gen X, not fully millennial, not fully belonging to either side of cultural identity. Too old for some conversations, too young for others. But instead of breaking you, it shaped you into something unusual. Someone who can move between perspectives easily. Someone who understands transition as normal. Not dramatic, not painful. Just life. Most people are shaped by stability, but Zenials were shaped by transition. And that matters. Because when change becomes your baseline, you stop resisting it the same way. You adapt faster. You adjust quicker. You rebuild without overthinking it. Not because you are stronger, but because you already lived through a major version of change before. But there's also something quietly human here. You remember what it felt like to be fully present. Without distraction, without constant interruption, without always being reachable. And even though you enjoy modern life, a part of you still understands that silence. So you carry both, connection and distance. So what does all of this actually mean? Zenials are not just a forgotten microgeneration. They are something more subtle. They are transition minds. People shaped during the moment when the world changed direction. And instead of belonging to one system, they learned how to function inside two. Which means in a world that keeps changing faster every year, they might already have the exact skill everyone else is still trying to develop. Because maybe the most important psychological trait isn't belonging to one world. Maybe it's being able to move between worlds without losing yourself. And that is something Zenials learned long before the rest of us even noticed the change had begun. Maybe you were never stuck between generations. Maybe you were simply trained by transition itself.